This episode is brought to you by Cologuard. Do you know what's really scary? Not screening for colon cancer when you turn 45. The Cologuard test is non-invasive, requires no special prep or time off work, and ships right to your door. In just 3 simple steps, Cologuard takes the scare out of colon cancer screening. If you're 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about the Cologuard test. Cologuard is available by prescription only. Learn more or request a prescription today at Cologuard.com/screen.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, just a little bit ago, President Trump issuing a threat to Iran on Truth Social. This, of course, comes as Iran had hit the Qatari gas field, one of the biggest really in the world. And it is also firing on civilian locations, also firing in on Saudi, hitting one of their gas facilities. President Trump saying this in response just a few minutes ago. The United States of America, with or without the help or consent of Israel, will massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field. That's that enormous one in Iran, at an amount of strength and power that Iran has never seen or witnessed before, if they do not cease. So this is getting very heated, very, very fast. And here is Stephen Miller, of course, very strong, close advisor to President Trump, saying we have to get tough. We know Israel took out the intelligence minister. That came after they took out 2 other leaders yesterday. A very incredible, precise strikes, but there is still more work to do. And Stephen Miller says it is time to really get tough.
Under the leadership of President Trump, and then, of course, with Secretary Hagsis of the Department of War, we are not fighting a politically correct battle. The hands of our warriors are not tied in getting up and going after the objective, and going after the objective ruthlessly, because this is war, and in a war, you have to fight totally. And so we have seen the leadership of this regime has been completely decapitated and obliterated. We have seen the IRGC dealt one humiliating blow after another. Their Navy is in the bottom of the ocean. Their Air Force is in rubble. Their ballistics missile program has been annihilated and is getting further annihilated every single day.
And CENTCOM came out today and said that they have hit 7,800 targets in Iran. That's just the U.S. side, not even the Israeli side, and that they have sunk 120 ships. We were talking earlier, how many do they have left? Well, here is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, of course, trying to undermine American efforts and slam President Trump. This is a disgrace.
I was wondering what you make of not just now Marco Rubio's comments, but also Joe Pence's comments suggesting that Israel is going to pull the U.S. directly towards the war, that there's no imminent threat. What do you think here?
Well, I mean, Marco Rubio said it, said some of this stuff himself. I think that we know without a doubt that this is a war choice that Donald Trump has initiated. All of these hostilities, killing American service members and innocent Iranians alike, and for no reason. He has a different reason every day.
Congresswoman, what do you think there's
And you couldn't really hear too much because she was running down the hallway, but essentially blaming Trump for the death of Americans and saying she doesn't know why we went to war. And here is Senator Adam Schiff. Hopefully he sounds better than that.
If we're going to ask our service members to put themselves in harm's way, we should be willing to take a vote here in Congress. We should be willing to have an open hearing here in Congress. We should be willing to be held accountable. We should show a fraction of the courage that our service members and their families are displaying. The founders gave us the power to declare a war or to refuse to do so. This was an extraordinary thing at the time when the king or the chief executive had that power all around the world. It was a revolutionary idea. But the founders recognized that a president might grow too fond of making war and gave that power to Congress. And if we don't use that power to bring an end to this war, if we don't use that power to insist that Congress play its role in our system of checks and balances, then that power is gone for good, and that is dangerous for this country. Because it means that presidents will make war on a whim, as it appears this president has done. So I'm proud to join my colleagues. I'm grateful to Tim Kaine, who has been such a leader on the War Powers Resolution. Grateful to Corey and Chris for organizing this series of War Powers Resolutions, and to Tammy B and Tammy D and all Tammys out there. So grateful for all your leadership. I'm headed to the floor and look forward to rejoining you. Thanks again.
Sound like he was trying to rap there at the end. Tammy B, Tammy D, stand up, Tammy C. But his whole point is this was a war on a whim. Are you kidding me? How is this a war on a whim? What a ridiculous statement. This was clearly thought out. Presidents have been talking about Iran for decades. He's just the first one to have the guts to do the right thing. And yet Democrats, all they can do is undermine the president at every single turn. And I wanted to play this clip. We were talking the last hour about Mahmoud Khalil. This is the Columbia University protest leader. And he's the one who's good buddies with Zohran Mamdani, because we were talking about Zohran Mamdani's wife and all these crazy comments. Well, Mahmoud Khalil came out and he was making these preposterous comments. He was at South by Southwest, which is a big event, and he was one of the speakers. And he was asked, will you condemn Hamas? It's not a trick question. It's not a difficult question. But for some reason, Mahmoud Khalil turned it into, it's racist to ask him this. You got to hear this one again. Take a listen.
So many Palestinian factions around me, but they were not interested in that as a whole. And as Bahir said, it's very racist to ask a Palestinian this question just to validate their views, because they don't see them asking any Israeli or American politician about condemning all the killing that's happening, whether in Lebanon and in Palestine and Iran, anywhere. So that sort of like hypocrisy and double standards that's being used against us, I refuse to be part of that. And they would never answer such a question in just like a 20-second sound bite, just for them, like to say, oh, he's like, we pushed him, he said that, we pushed him, he did not say that, and then he is Hamas sympathizer or whatever. Or the other part about justifying violence. Once again, like, you can never justify violence. You can never justify October 7, what happened after October 7. But to them, you can never contextualize October 7. But October 7 justifies everything after, which to me is again like that double standard. Like, you have to be very consistent with your values, and that's what I care about, like having consistent values, whether about Palestine, about Israelis, about like whoever, just like that. But like, once again, these are all like deliberate attempts to silence people, because it's easier for them to silence me than to actually engage in the conversation about what's happening. And that's what we're seeing now, in especially when it comes to Israel's attempt to censor the First Amendment in this country. Like, this is really what's happening, to censor any speech that can be remotely critical of the Israeli government.
It's racist to ask a Palestinian about Hamas. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not a trick question. Hamas is a designated terrorist organization funded by Iran. And if you have problems with that, you need a new moral compass. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Dom in Minnesota on line 4. Go ahead, Dom. Your thoughts tonight.
Yeah, Rita, God forbid Mr. Zohran Mamdani gets a second term. He's going to become Ayatollah Zohrani and turn New York City into the caliphate. My God, this is a question for you and everybody else who's going to call you later, Rita. How the hell did we not know about all of this and his wife before electing this guy? I was looking this up.
We did, Dom. That's the scary thing. We did. And yet many New Yorkers elected him. And I think either one of two things. Either one, maybe some of them agree with him, and I hope that's not the case. Or two, maybe they thought, oh, that's just rhetoric. He is not really a true believer. That can't be true. And the other thing, too, Dom, it depends which media you listen to. Because there were some New York media, local New York media. This is obviously a national show, but there were local New York media that really didn't give him a hard time. I mean, there was one New York anchor who said, explain to me what you mean, Mr. Mondani, when you say globalize the intifada. And then he gave like a 2 or 3 minute word salad answer. And the host said, okay, thank you. As opposed to saying, what are you talking about? Are you really saying da-da-da-da-da-da-da? Are you running for president of Gaza, or you're running for mayor of New York? I mean, honestly, that's what he really needed. And then yet there were some like myself and others who were sounding the alarm. And now I think it is worse than I ever imagined. But I think a lot of New Yorkers are going, huh?
Zoran Mamdani got almost 70% of the people that voted for him are 18 to 29 years old. And most of these people voted for the progressive policies. But I think if you ask them, any one of these people, what the intifada is, they'll say, oh, is that some kind of a chocolate milkshake from Dairy Queen? That's the kind of level of understanding they have.
You're right.
This is the problem. Yeah, I mean, that's really sad, and sometimes it's dangerous. I mean, it's I don't know.
I think it's incredibly dangerous. And Dom, also, I think they got lured in. You hit it on the head with the socialist policies, because it was. They heard free, free, free. Oh, he's going to give me free bus. He's going to give me free this. Well, now even on that level, you hear how he's planning to do it. I mean, he's looking at raising taxes in an enormous way, whether you're alive or dead. Estate tax, he's planning on socking it to you, and also planning on increasing the taxes when you're alive. And if he thinks there's been an exodus out of New York already, it's going to be a marathon. It's going to be like a massive, massive crowd leaving if he actually institutes these things. But he's going to probably try to do one or two or all of the above. He doesn't seem to really care. And I think it's frightening, Dom. But I think they got, sold on this. Oh, we're going to get this free this. We're going to get this free that. Not realizing at the end of the day, we all pay for what is supposed to be free.
And the first thing that these people like Mahmoud Khalil, they come and then they educate themselves in the English language, and they're almost, and I can listen to this guy speak. He sounds a lot better than the local guys going to the high school. And the first word they pick up on is racist, because that's all they know. It works. This is the problem. There's nothing racist about what happened on October 7th. And criticizing these people, but they pick up on that word because they know it's loaded and it works.
Yeah, it's highly charged, and nobody wants to be considered a racist. And he hopes that by saying that, people will stop asking the questions, so they won't be seen as racist or viewed it. But what somebody should. This is why I go back and I blame the media, Dom, because somebody in the crowd should have said, "Excuse me, it's not racist to ask." Will you answer the question? And whoever was asking the question, or whoever was moderating, he was at the South by Southwest. It's supposed to be a conference, but if there was access at all to the media or anybody who had a legitimate, half a brain to ask a question, they should have said, excuse me, you didn't answer the question. I know you're telling me I'm racist. I'm just asking a yes or no question, Mr. Mahmoud Khalil. Yeah. Will you condemn Hamas? Will you condemn a group that kills, rapes, slaughters, does all this stuff of innocent women, children, and others? Well, it's not a trick question. Yes or no? And just yes or no, yes or no. This word salad is just, it's dangerous. And I think it sadly says everything, because if you can't answer it, I think we know where you stand. Right, Dom?
Yeah, and I hope, and this is my sincere hope, I hope every New Yorker, when it comes to tax time, and he's paying the real estate taxes that Mamdani is imposing on them, will come to realize, my God, what were we thinking? Just drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they get a big wake-up call. I hope they're waking up. I'm not sure yet, but I would hope so. I would hope even just reading some of his wife's tweets is enough to make your head spin. 1-800-848-9222. And everybody, we will continue after the break here on The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Tap the banner or visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
Faraday presenta Ojos con Alergia y Picazón contra el jardinero. Y el ganador es Faraday Extra Fuerte. Para aliviar la picazón de los ojos por alergia, actúa más rápido y supera a Claritin y Flonase aún a las 24 horas. Faraday, adelante.
This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And we are continuing your calls tonight as we're all shaking our heads at these crazy comments from Zohran Mamdani's wife. And also, as the fight clearly is intensifying in the Middle East, President Trump putting out a really strong statement, essentially telling Iran that they have to stop hitting civilian targets and also some of the gas installations, gas fields and other locations with some of their prior allies like Qatar, or else President Trump is essentially going to go after Iran's biggest gas field, which is the biggest in the world. They share a huge gas field with them and Qatar. And so they hit the Qatari side, and President Trump saying, we may hit you on your Iranian side. Also, Karg Island, which has about 90% of Iran's oil exports. President Trump over the weekend, remember, they took out the military part, but they didn't take out the gas terminals and everything else, all the oil facilities there on Karg Island. President Trump signaling that could come. So you better shape up. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Tim in Queens on line 5. Go ahead, Tim, your thoughts tonight.
Hey, thank you for taking my call, Rita. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Real quick, I just want to say I agree strongly with President Trump. Iran is an evil regime. They've killed Americans, hundreds of Americans, our Marines in Beirut. You know, the list goes on and on. So, you know, hooray for President Trump. But where I disagree is, and I actually think Adam Schiff has a point, under Article 1 of the Constitution, it's really supposed to go through Congress. I would have liked it better if it had been through Congress.
But Tim, and the only reason we got a bit of a hard break, I want you to stay because I want to continue with you. You realize, like all the strikes that Obama did, all the things that Biden did, they didn't go through Congress when they were taking these actions. So, and you lose the element of surprise, and it's no surprise about Iran.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Baseball is back, and the first pitch is on Netflix. The New York Yankees, led by 7-time All-Star Aaron Judge, head to the San Francisco Bay to take on Rafael Devers' San Francisco Giants. This season kicks off with one exclusive opening night game. Watch MLB Opening Night, the New York Yankees versus the San Francisco Giants, live on Netflix. Wednesday, March 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
Rita Cosby is on.
And I'm going to get back to Tim in Queens in a moment. But just a little bit ago, there was a vote on the House of Representatives floor. I can't believe this. Here's the question that they were voting for. It is a bill requiring automatic deportation for illegals who commit welfare fraud. So they've committed the fraud, It's 100% sure they've committed the fraud, and the bill says there should be automatic deportation of illegals. I don't really think it's a trick question, do you? Absolutely. You come to this country and then you commit fraud? Sorry, you absolutely, at minimum, should be deported. But yet, here's the vote, and it took place just a little bit ago tonight.
On this vote, the yeas are 231, the nays are 186. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
So it did pass, but 186 Democrats said, no, I guess you can commit fraud and stay in this country. How do you like that one, guys? And before we go back to Tim brought up Adam Schiff talking about the war. Well, there have been a whole bunch of new polls that have come out. And one of them from Rasmussen says that 61% of likely voters say the military operation against Iran so far has been successful. And another poll that has just come out also, this one essentially says that among voters who backed Trump in 2024, 83% say the operation has been successful. Overall, of Republicans, 81% saying it's been successful, and 56% of unaffiliated voters, 45% of Democrats. So overwhelmingly, Trump's base is supportive of this. But listen to Senator Tammy Duckworth. This is what she had to say about going to war. She says, how dare President Trump do it?
Now, I served in the Iraq War, even though I didn't believe that it was the right thing for America to do, because I believed in our Constitution and our democracy. And our democracy said that our military is subservient to our civilian leadership. And I believed in that so truly that I volunteered for it. And I'm so proud to be able to serve in the Senate today with colleagues who actually had the courage to stand up and voted against the Iraq War. There's one of them being the chairwoman of the Tammy caucus in the Senate, unanimously nominated and elected into office as the leader of the Tammy caucus. But we need to have those tough votes. We need to have those tough discussions. And if it is time to go to war, then we will vote for it. But it is not the decision of one man's ego to do this. And that is what we're doing on the floor today. My slot on the floor is at 1740 hours. So I'm going to stay here until then, and then I'll disappear as well. But thank you all for being here. We're in this together. And this is all about the United States of America, keeping our people safe, keeping our nation safe and prosperous, and making sure that we safeguard the men and women who wear the uniform of our nation. Thanks.
By the way, obviously we want to support our men and women in uniform, no doubt. But the Democrats have voted against Trump on everything. I just told you a vote to deport those who have committed fraud. Again, that's not a trick question, but clearly it is for the Democrats. Anything Trump does, no thanks. We won't support it. Remember, they were asked, even when he did the State of the Union, he looked at everybody and he said, could you guys stand up if you will put Americans before illegal immigrants? I mean, it wasn't a trick question. And none of them stood up. So what does that tell you? Anything Trump says is bad, even if it's taking out a ruthless regime like Iran. So let's go back to Tim in Queens on line 5. Tim, go ahead. I'm so sorry. We had a hard break before. Go ahead.
Oh, no, thank you so much for continuing the conversation. I was just saying, Iran, they are despicable. They're disgusting. They're pure evil. And we should all thank President Trump and say, hooray, thank you. He was the first president to actually have the cojones to actually do this. But where I slightly disagree is under Article 1, the Constitution is pretty clear that military force, it should be Congress. It should be Congress authorizing the use of force. President George W. Bush, to his credit, back in, 03 and 01, when they went into Iraq and Afghanistan, they went through Congress, which is the proper way to do it. And, then Obama started, as you mentioned, Obama started violating the Constitution left and right. And I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat president doing it. I think Congress should, reassert its authority under Article 1 and say, no, if we're going to go into war, Congress has to approve that. And also, it would have been nice if they spent a little more time, if the administration spent a little more time sort of selling it to the American people, explaining why it's a necessity and why, yeah, you might have some shock at the gas pump, but you know what? This is something we had to do.
So two things. First off, do you believe that if for some reason, say, they briefed Congress and said, here's the reason we need your approval, do you believe that anything that might have been shared, even confidentially, with, say, like AOC or Adam Schiff or some of these others, you think it would stay there? I mean, it wouldn't. That's the sad reality. They are leaking, and they would create havoc, and they would go out there. So that's one problem. I mean, it's so sad. I mean, in a perfect world, I hear what you're saying, but the reality is, they have undermined President Trump and this administration at every turn. So it would in many ways lose the element, I believe, also of surprise. And that's the sad reality. And that's one of the most important things. You also brought up time. And on one hand, there was obviously this element of surprise. And what hastened it, that we've heard from reports, is that President Trump, that the U.S. got intelligence saying, we got a meeting. It's a daytime meeting of the Ayatollah and, 40 others in this room. You'll want to take the hit. And it's an opportunity to change future, where they actually had the intel. And so I think it was a courageous and a smart and a powerful move to kick off the strikes by doing that. And that actually hastened things. But can you imagine if he said, no, hold on, I got to go talk to Rashida Tlaib and AOC. I mean, they'd probably call somebody and say, hey, guess what? Move the meeting. I mean, it's sad to say. And the other thing is also, Tim, it's not like it's a mystery. If suddenly Trump went in and did a strike on somewhere that we haven't heard in the headlines, you could say, okay, well, the American public. I agree that maybe he should have explained, hey, look, there may be an impact here with oil prices. There may be this. On the other hand, you don't always know what your opponent's going to do. You don't know if they will try to close the Strait of Hormuz. You don't know if they might surrender after a week or two, after you take out the Ayatollah. I thought it would last a while, like it is so far, because they're fanatics. They're Islamists. They are hardened fanatics. And those people, sometimes they have to literally stand on a pile of rubble before they submit. And maybe never. But I also think what he's doing is an incredibly noble, courageous mission. And even he said it the other day, Tim, I don't know if you heard this, but he said there was a past president. He kind of hinted that it was Clinton. He didn't say it, but he kind of hinted, said, God, I wish I had the guts to do it. I wish I had done what you did. I mean, I bet you every single president, in past decades has felt that way, that they wish they had the guts that President Trump did to change the course of history and doing what he's doing. But now I feel like because he's there, he's got to finish the job. Don't you believe it? I mean, you can't go in and it's this wrestle where you want to obviously make it as fast and as least painful for the American public with prices and everything else. And then on the other hand, you also don't want to pull out so fast that the regime still is somewhat intact and can reconstitute itself, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Once you started it, you have to finish the job. It's like you start a course of antibiotics. You have to finish it. You got to take these guys out. I just hope they have an end game. And also, to your point about not trusting the Democrats, I mean, my goodness, what you just said about 186 Democrats tonight voting not to deport people who are convicted of welfare fraud. Wow. That's crazy.
I mean, that's frightening. A fraud. If they have committed that fraud, deport them. They're not even necessarily saying, it's welfare fraud. I wanted to make sure that I was correct. Yes, it's welfare fraud. They don't even say automatic deportation. I mean, where's the gray area? That's the problem. And remember, there was also a vote not that long ago, Tim, on the floor, where it was Iran is an enormous threat. They're a terrorist regime. Many of the Democrats didn't vote for that either. I mean, that's not a trick question. Is Hitler a good guy or a bad guy? I mean, that's essentially what the question was. And for some reason, many Democrats voted against that too. I mean, what does that say to you, Tim? And it's a sad reality. I don't like it by any means, but I like people who have common sense, whether it's Republicans or Democrats. But where's the common sense in that, Tim? Tim, are you there? I left Tim speechless. I love that. Tim, you got to call back again. You were great. Let's go to Joaquin on Pennsylvania. Go ahead, Joaquin.
Good job, Rita. Wow. You left him speechless.
I left him speechless. I love that. Go ahead. I'll give myself an A plus. Do I get an A plus plus?
Yes, an A plus 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 plus. There you go.
Thank you, my friend.
So, anyway, getting back to that, what Tim was just talking about, I mean, Joe Biden, he just decided to withdraw out of Afghanistan and surrender Bagram Air Force Base, creating that whole debacle and all those Afghan refugees that we brought into this country.
And left $85 billion worth of equipment. I mean, that he could have easily taken back, and he didn't. And how much of that equipment, we don't even know. I mean, maybe it's in Iran right now. Much of it was definitely given to China. China took over Bagram.
Right, exactly right. Probably one of the most strategic bases that we had anywhere in the world, perhaps,
Absolutely. Absolutely. It had such great a line of sight. And I've been to Bagram. I actually stayed over in Bagram years ago when I was at NBC. I mean, it is a pivotal location. That was a total disaster and pathetic that Biden left us hanging and all the equipment pulled out. We know what happened, sadly, at Abbey Gate 2 as well. And yet, for some reason, I don't remember Adam Schiff even critical of that one iota. What a hypocrite.
No, not at all. And again, unfortunately, I hate to say it, that there's factions in this country that for some reason seem to be pro-Islamist. And, I want to actually go to Andy McCarthy, who you had on Cats and Cosby today.
Yep.
And he nailed so many things on the head. And one of the things that really stuck out to me that a lot of people have to understand is he talked about that you have to understand the theology, the Islamic theology behind everything. And, it was not too long, a couple of years after 9/11, and we started having all these issues in the Middle East, that was when I decided to read the Quran for myself to see what my enemies believed in.
Now, what did you think about when you read the Quran? What did you think?
Well, yeah, it's exactly, unfortunately, it's a strategy for the world, to take over the world, basically. It's to make the world submit to Islamic rule. And that's basically what's in that book. And again, so.
What did you make of what I was saying earlier, too, Joaquin? I'm curious your thoughts on I'm still pretty stunned to see this New York City's first lady. This is Mondani's wife. Came out and really, liked and in other words, put that post up on social media where she was blasting the U.S. military. This was in the past, and said that the military mercilessly slaughters third world citizens, civilians, and maintain American hegemony. And then also about Tel Aviv, quote, shouldn't exist in the first place. I mean, this is frightening stuff for somebody who's the wife of the mayor of the biggest city in America, Joaquin.
Exactly. And unfortunately, we're allowing these people into our country. They should not be here. Mahmoud Khalil shouldn't be here. If you want to say...
Joaquin, that's racist. That's racist to say that.
And, that's another thing that Andy McCarthy touched on. He said this whole thing about Islamophobia, they turn it around and they try... because we're good-natured in this country, and we don't want to be labeled as racist, but they throw the label of Islamophobia basically to say that we're racist if we have a problem with Islam. And so it makes no sense. And like Mahmoud Khalil, to sit here and have to actually listen to this guy, it's almost as being forced to have to listen to one of the Nazis coming over here during World War II, and preaching to us about, opposing them.
And, it is. It's really chilling, I think, Joaquin, because I think there are some pretty fundamental things out there in terms of right and wrong. And for some reason, they don't get it. I mean, they truly don't get it. Everything is I feel this way. We're oppressed. It's, Palestinian, woe is me and genocide. And there's no compassion whatsoever for Israel. I mean, it's not even balance, let alone it's all anti-Israel, just like the BDS stuff too. All the BDS stuff, the DSA BDS stuff is boycott, divest, and sanction Israel. Don't have a product from Israel. Don't do this from Israel. It's a really scary place, Joaquin, and it's frightening, especially in this moment. And it would be interesting to ask, Mondani. He's got a press conference tomorrow. I hope the New York media is listening. A lot of them do. And I hope that they ask him, hey, what do you think about the attacks now on Iran, taking out the Ayatollah? Isn't that a righteous hit? Isn't this a righteous move? I would be very curious to see his answer, and also to explain his wife's crazy posts that I think are very dangerous and really chilling. Joaquin, thank you very much. You're always terrific. Always great to hear from you. And everybody, we will continue your calls after the break. 1-800-848-9222. But first, support our heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with a powerful story from Camden, New Jersey, where aboard the battleship New Jersey, surrounded by friends and others, Navy veteran Johnny Q. Quinesso Sr. marked a milestone, his 100th birthday. He was honored recently there for his great service. Now, apart from serving 3 years in the South Pacific as a radio man second class, the World War II veteran has spent more than 2 decades volunteering at the Battleship New Jersey Museum, sharing his experiences. And by the way, when he was in the military, he said one moment stands out. Remember, he was a radio man and he was working a midnight watch on the radio. Quinesso received a transmission that would change the world. The message read, "The Japanese had surrendered. The war is over." And he recalled he ran right down to the captain. He banged on his door. Yes, he delivered the message directly to the ship's captain that World War II had ended. He said all hell broke loose on the ship after that. The crew started crying and hugging each other. He says, that was my most glorious moment. I will never forget it. It feels like yesterday. And everybody support America's military and first responder heroes. Donate just $11 a month to the awesome Tunnel to Towers Foundation. They are the best. Be sure to check them out at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Fox News is now streaming live on Fox One. When news breaks, we don't just report it. We go beyond the headlines to get the full story. Get live coverage, in-depth analysis, and perspectives from the voices you trust, all in one place. Whether you're at home or on the go, stay connected to the stories shaping our world. Stream Fox News on Fox One. Download today.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's go to Jay in New Jersey on line 3. Go ahead, Jay. Your thoughts tonight.
Hey, Rita. Yeah, Democrats vote against deporting illegal aliens committing fraud because they're there for precisely that reason. Democrats import illegal aliens to help them loot the treasury and keep them in power to continue doing that. And when they see the illegal aliens, committing fraud, want them to stay. So people have to realize that when we have violent crime, remember the Lake and Raleigh Act, they all voted against that also, because when illegals commit violent crimes against Americans, that's a reason for them to be for them to stay in this country. And
well, you know what's sad? You're right about the Lake and Riley Act. You're right. They voted against that. And this vote about automatically deporting those who've committed welfare fraud. 186 Democrats said no. And Jay, you got to wonder, what's their objective? It's anti-American, this vote.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.